Welcome back to the BDGE Dynasty Fantasy Football channel. Today, we are going round by round to the first 10 rounds of Dynasty Startup Drafts, ADP courtesy of South Harmon. Link down below, free to use. We did the same video a few days ago, going round by round for the worst draft picks. We will link that down below as well if you want to make sure you figure out who you need to avoid as you are doing your Dynasty startups. And within our Discord, you can join a Dynasty startup if you want to. That's free to join, and Sexy will help you out in there once you are there. So we're going to pick up exactly where we left off, same ADP, same players, same spots, all that kind of stuff. There might be a little bit of movement between when we film this video and when you guys are watching it. So just bear with us. Be nice. Be good people. Andrew, you're a good person. I'm going to let you start off round two. We are skipping round one as we did last time as well because
they all good.
Y'all can yell at me if you want. They're not ready for it.
They all good. Well, if you watched the last episode, I was very excited to talk about a player that I liked in this round, and that player is Kyler Murray. I think we all can agree that Kyler Murray is being undervalued in startup drafts. He is a very talented player, but I also want to throw an honorable mention out there because I feel like Kyler is so obvious. I also think that A.J. Brown is a very good pick in this round.
Okay. I mean, Kyler's definitely the standout to me.
I like how he started both videos like that. He just says a player and then just looks at us.
Yeah.
I'm going to look back at you in disgust.
I nominate you banter.
Well, you have to tell us why he's the best pick.
You said it's just clear and obvious. I don't know what that means.
Obvious.
How so?
Gut's yelling for his life out there.
I know. You'd think he's getting beat up. From a fantasy points per game standpoint, Kyler Murray, he is up there with guys like Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, more than C.J. Stroud. Same, like all of those guys up there. And we're getting him as QB 11 at the 209. He just got Marvin Harrison Jr. added into his offense. What is not to like about the value that you're getting in Kyler Murray?
What point of a startup draft do you feel uncomfortable taking Kyler?
Well,
bars.
I would take him as high as probably QB 8.
We're on the
What
draft
does that
board.
make him?
112, 2-1.
Yeah, right where Anthony Richardson's going right there, 112, 2-1. I'd be very comfortable doing that. I'm going to start.
I don't think I disagree with that. How many startups do you think start off Kyler 112, Marv 2-1?
That'd be a nice little startup.
Pretty sexy.
Yeah. I'm going to start up right now, and Kyler Murray just went at the 106, I think. He was the QB 6 off the board or something like that.
That's insanity.
You took him there?
Yeah.
I did not take him there.
So I'm going to start up where Kyler Murray went 101. Me. I
took
did
him.
No, I didn't take him there. My
Context is key.
My homie Brandon took him there, but
Nah, Kyler's like kind of polarizing because people like I think he probably has him as like his 5th or 6th dynasty quarterback right now. And I get it. Like if you had him during those big years, for sure, you're definitely trying to recapture that. And I think he's still got some like great years left in him. So I'm 209 Kyler. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
The thing about him to me is that like a lot of where his dip came was like not secure in him being the starter long term. They couldn't have given you more vote of confidence that that's what they're doing moving forward. He's going to be a starter in the league for long enough to where this should not be happening still.
yeah. I would honestly, the more that I'm sitting here thinking about this, like I have Justin Herbert in a lot of leagues, and if I can tear down from my Justin Herbert to Kyler Murray, I'm doing it 100 times out of 100 times right now.
Let me raise you because you can't probably tear down because that Justin Herbert's value is falling, and we get why. I would do it straight up.
I think I would too.
Although I agree, if I can tear down, if I can get a plus, I'll take it.
I mean, it shows people kind of value Herbert just a little bit more, but it depends on the league and your managers and everything like that. But
to your point, they're they're on opposite sides of the round, and they're basically the same value to me. I would actually prefer Kyler, obviously.
Would you trade A-Rich for Kyler, or are you sticking with A-Rich?
So there, I think the conversation is A-Rich has higher ceiling than Kyler Murray, but the security him is no. Oh my gosh, yes. Anthony Richardson, if he hits, for the record, this is if he hits because we don't know that for sure if he's gonna. This is Cam Newton with 4.4 speed. Like if he hits, he breaks fantasy to a level we haven't seen. Lamar with like double TD touchdown upside.
Yeah,
I don't know, like Josh Allen.
but can run a 4.4.
I want to share this stat.
Yeah, but I mean, Josh Allen's getting in the end zone 13, 14 times. So
he had 15, which was the record last year for sure.
Yeah.
But like A-Rich, I think, poses the Lamar type of rushing yards with the upside touchdowns of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
That's why I think he
I want to
breaks
share this
fantasy.
stat
Go ahead, what do you
because this is what
boy.
that homie of mine that took Kyler Murray and
This sounds like it's
that
totally
highly.
you. I need to verify this is a real person.
the most PPR points per game by a quarterback all time. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson,
His career.
Kyler Murray, career all time.
Empty Watt's still up there.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Andrew Luck,
Nice
Justin
like that.
Herbert, Lamar Jackson. But Kyler Murray's number 4 on this list all time.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, he was so good early on.
So if A-Rich hits, he'll be number 1 on that list all time.
He's got to pass Mahomes and Allen.
If he hits, he's going to be insane. Now, again, though, the floor to me, A-Rich is not nearly the same as Murray. So I think that's the conversation.
Yeah.
Do you want to shoot for the upside, or do you just want to lock in what is a very good dynasty quarterback?
But yeah, I think he's the best. I think he's the best pick in this round.
I would agree.
It's pretty clear.
All right, moving on to round 3.
There's one right answer.
Best one?
There's a lot of guys I like. A lot of me wants to pick Malik Neighbors, but I'm going to pass on him for now, and I'm going to take Dak at the 308.
Easily the best pick in this round, in my opinion.
He's the quarterback 15 in startup drafts. Dak's been like everything you could ask for from a fantasy perspective for like 4 out of the last 5 years. On a points per game basis, he's been up there with maybe not tier 1, but I mean, it's not like Joe Burrow is outproducing him that heavily. I think Dak's going to get another contract from Dallas for another 3 or 4 years. He's someone I think is going to age relatively well because I think he can go elsewhere and still be fine.
But Nick, Dak sucks. Dak sucks. We don't like Dak.
A lot of people don't like Dak.
You know, the crazy part about it to me is like he's a perfect way or person to talk about how the value of quarterback and age is just such a overrated thing. Like in Dynasty, I get it. You want to be aware of the cliff for wide receivers, for running backs, but it's just not the same at the quarterback position. Dak's only 30. Like, how many of your leagues even make it to where Dak's not actually potentially still very good scoring
That's what
quarterback?
I'm saying. The dude just had 4,500 passing yards and 36 passing touchdowns.
Do you know 36 touchdowns was like – there's only a handful of people that even were over 30 last year.
Yeah.
He cleaned the field.
2 years ago, he got hurt, but the year before that, 37 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And look at the Dallas offense. We were like, okay, I think Dallas might go a little bit more pass heavy. They get rid of Zeke or whatever. They bring back Zeke now, who's like a shell of himself. Look at that backfield. They're going to pass the ball fucking 40 times a game this year. Yep. It's CD, it's Schultz, Cooks, whatever the case may be. But it's a mixture of Rico Dowdle, Zeke. Like they're not carrying the ball more than 25 times a game as a team. So I think Prescott's volume will be high enough that even if his efficiency ever comes down, he's still giving you top 10 fantasy numbers at worst. Like we talk about, like Kirk Cousins will give you, those low end QB1, high end QB2 numbers. Dak is like in the same vein but higher. He's giving you QB8 numbers probably at worst, where he has years that he slips into the top 5 or top 3, and I feel like you're getting at least like 4 to 5 more years of Dak like that.
Can I give you context to the points per game side real quick, and then I'll let you go, Andrew? Yeah. 8 of the last 12 weeks of the season, top 10 quarterback. 8 of the last 12 weeks of the season. 7 of the last 12 weeks of the season, top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
That is outrageous.
Because he's got fucking CD, and CD ain't going anywhere.
League winner.
CD's nuts.
So I'm all in on Dak at that price.
I do agree. And I think Dak, a lot of people are very negative about Dak Prescott, and I think that's kind of part of at least what I notice in some of my leagues, and I feel like this also leaks into kind of how we play Dynasty, because there is a part of the fan base that listens to narrative speak. And that's why I mimic the public opinion of, but Dak sucks. We don't like Dak. Dak doesn't win playoff games, blah, blah, blah. He's really good for Dynasty fantasy football, and he's been very good for fantasy football. So,
like, if you invested in Dak 5 years ago, like, you hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even feel like that if you're not the one holding. Like, if you have Dak, you know how good he's been for Dynasty. If you don't, you've kind of just let him go under the radar for like half a decade.
If you don't,
and you're probably going to do that again.
And you probably know how good he's been because he probably beat you.
And if you have Dak, nobody's going to value him the way that you do, because they just don't see those points hit their lineup the way that you do.
Which is why I ain't trading you Dak.
It
Nicholas.
When I made my video a couple months ago about the best picks in the rounds, Dak was my pick in this round.
I think to me it was the clear best value in this round. Dak.
Drake London's only 2 picks later.
Right.
Actually, I have Travis Etienne.
What would you
too.
add to Drake London to go get Dak in the regular
Nothing.
league?
They're the same pick, basically.
So you're stuck with Drake, the not best player.
No, you're gonna.
So you're gonna be stuck with the not best player.
You're gonna make that trade for me.
Factual.
You're gonna make that trade, or you ain't gonna be on this channel anymore. How's that?
You see that?
I'm starting giving out ultimatums.
See, and y'all wonder why. Imagine having ultimatums and still not winning the league.
Enough.
Wild. Enough. All right. Round 4 is not nearly as clear cut to me for the best. This is actually kind of tough, frankly. They're all the same. I'm going to make one, but I'm just curious. Are you guys feeling the same way before I say who I'm going to say?
There's not a clear guy for me.
Okay.
I lean one person, though.
So do I.
But it's not clear. But I lean one. Who?
So the reason I'm going to take Rome is because right now with the fever, I feel like I might be able to move him for the most. That's why I'll take Rome. But because I guess realistically, I see the path for Rome if he has a good enough rookie season to where he's at least in Olave's discussion, the vein.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the other guys are kind of cemented in this range.
I kind of feel like, as long as Rome doesn't have a catastrophic rookie year, he's going up in value.
Yeah.
Right.
Every year closer to him being like the 2 or the 1 on that team will move him up around in startup drafts.
Like, I already personally would rather take Rome ahead of Brandon Ayuk and Jalen Waddle, frankly.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, I guess it's not, like, significantly more, but I think he's the most valuable for me. And I also know right now people are crazier for rookies, so that's my answer.
Yeah, I agree with Rome. He's the guy who I was leaning to. If I had to pick somebody else, though, I'd also consider Pittman. I like Pittman a lot at this value. I just feel like he is one of those guys that you're just always going to get what he's listed as. Like, I don't feel like Pittman should give me anything less than wide receiver 16 numbers, and he always has the chance to win me my week.
I think they're different things, and I think what you just said to me was what I was going to say. I think he's the safest pick in this round.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any way that he disappoints. Nico, we're a little unsure of what's actually going to happen there. DJ Moore just got a huge Rome's ahead of him. We got Keenan Allen. Like, there's a little more uncertainty for the other guys, I think.
I just was thinking about it from the perspective of, like, if all of these guys are on the board and I'm making a pick, it's Rome and then it's Pittman for me in that order.
Fair. I would agree with that.
I actually was thinking literally any 4-3 to the 4-7 from Tua all the way to Michael Pittman, like the value of all of those players.
Fair.
I would actually argue I probably would have went Rome as my 1. I would say Tua is a really close second for me in the same vein that, like, I feel like Tua is going to have a Dak Prescott type of career, or at least over the next half decade. People are just waiting. Miami's going to give him that extension. And as soon as that hits, I think he just jumps up around in startup ADP. Like, he's coming off of a monster year, and regardless of if you think it's manufactured stats or if it has to do with the weapons around him, it's not changing. Like, it's still, he's going to be with McDaniels, he's going to be with Tyreek Hill, he's going to be with Jalen Waddle, he's going to have Devon Achane. Like, if you think he doesn't have the upside to win them a championship, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's fantasy stats here. Like,
That's
he just
also
led the NFL in passing yards. I think his like floor is 4,200 passing yards, and like,
He's got OBJ.
that's the difference. That's the difference right there.
That's the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think actually for him,
Tua is like a crazy undervalued asset to me at 4-3.
the tale of the two halves of the season is, I think, why Tua's value feels so stagnant right now.
Damn.
We
back.
caught it though.
We right back.
Weeks 12 through 18, if you guys remember, a lot of red on this. Quarterback 26, quarterback 10, quarterback 23, 23, 22, 16, and 24 to finish the year. They had a really brutal schedule to finish out, and Tyreek got hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah. A lot of injuries there
that
for sure.
hurt one of my teams pretty bad down the stretch because Tua was my guy.
But people forget, though, the reason I want to bring that up is because people also forget how to start the year it was quarterback 1, quarterback 26, quarterback 2, quarterback 18, quarterback 12, quarterback 3. Like, he tore up the early part, and now it's like recency bias is where I think what's at.
I think the reason I like it is because he's like the perfect QB2 for you in Superflex Dynasty, right? And you're drafting him accordingly. He's quarterback 16 off the board that literally, like, every other week is giving you a top 3 performance in that offense.
Very safe floor.
Right. So it's like having him for the next 5 years as your QB2 feels fucking fantastic to me.
And the other thing about him is, like, you take Tua, and now you have May and McCarthy, what we're unsure of on, obviously. Goff, who just feels like far unsexier version. And then we get to a total cliff of the position, I think.
Right. And my thing, too, is like, all right, I think a lot of the narrative is like people just figured out McDaniels, people figured out Tua, and it's like as soon as he plays good teams, like he kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
They also had like the 1 year together. And what if McDaniels just is fucking boy genius and it's like, all right, now we have the offseason to make us better. Like, what if they actually go in the other direction? And I don't think that's out of the range of outcomes given how fucking electric he was as a coach and a play caller.
No, I agree. And I also think Tua as a quarterback, he's a very big plus quarterback, too. I don't want him as my quarterback 1, but at a quarterback 2, you got to feel like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm with you. All right, Mr. Andrew.
Yeah, moving on to round 5 here.
Curious what you do here.
I don't feel like anybody screams as like the best, honestly. They all feel like solid, but if I had to pick one of these guys, I feel like I lean Mark Andrews because
Love it.
I feel like he's younger than a guy like Travis Kelce, who's right there next to him, but he is still going to give you that elite tight end production, and you're drafting him as tight end 6. It feels like he's giving you a value at that place. I just, in a tight end premium league, if I'm going to take an elite tight end early, why not take a guy who can give you top 1, top 2 numbers at the position in the back of the 5th round at the 6th tight end?
Yeah, I like him. I actually just traded for him in a dynasty league.
He seems very undervalued this offseason. I think maybe just because of the injury that he had. And
well,
also,
it's kind of been like 2 years in a row that have been underwhelming. I think that's why.
And also, like, Baltimore added nobody as a receiving threat. I mean, Devontae Walker, but, like, I'm not a big believer in what Walker can be for that offense. I think it really is Zay and Bateman to kind of be the 2 wide receivers, and then Mark Andrews, and we know how that goes with Lamar and Mark Andrews, that connection that they have.
Yeah. This list is low-key sounding like the Fiedel team. Dak, Mark Andrews. I like this. Good start.
I have both of these guys on the same roster, too.
Good. Let's go, man.
All right, moved to round 6.
What do you got, Nicholas?
I actually feel pretty confident. I can't believe like how high I'm getting on him.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Xavier Worthy?
Yep. I absolutely love Pacheco, but I'm going to go with George Pickens for a lot of the reasons that I talked about in the last video. I don't see a world where his value goes down at all. Again, like he came out as an electrifying prospect. He had a big year last year. Like I think we're underplaying like his stats from last year. 1,100 yards, and Deontay Johnson is no longer there. You also likely bring in a large quarterback upgrade. I think you're going to get Russ for a year. And think about Russ peppering like the targets that he had in Seattle. Like he locks in on DK or Lockett, whoever's there. And right now it's really only George Pickens. I'm not a big fan of Roman Wilson. I don't think he'll make that big of an impact his rookie year. And even if it's Fields, like look what Fields did with DJ Moore. Like I just think the setup here, I don't see a world where at 23 years old, like his value goes anywhere, given that he's going to be force-fed targets there.
I think part of what you're speaking to, I agree with everything you said as far as like the sentiment on him. I think that last year, because he had 4 weeks, which were like absolute monster weeks, and then it was 22 yards. He had -1 yards.
He was very inconsistent, so like, for sure.
Basically, people that relied on him last year maybe missed the playoffs because of him.
Yeah.
But I think what we have to remember is one quarterback.
I think in Fiedel, I think I lost the playoff matchup
because of him.
Okay, so I actually remember this really specifically. I kept going back and forth between London and Pickens. They traded off massive weeks at the end of the year. Remember, London had his like 170-yard game. Pickens had his whatever.
195.
And every time the guy had the big game, I started the other guy. And I went back and forth doing that. And it like cost me, I think I lost in the semis because of that.
Yeah. Because
fucking pissed me the fuck
off. You probably sat. No, in the semis, you probably sat Pickens for London. Yes. And that was when Pickens went 195 and 2 tugs.
And my team put up like 190 that week. And I lost to a guy that put up like 200.
Okay, pause real quick. We're going to take a quick break to give you guys Dynasty Best Ball. This is your conundrum. If you want to play Dynasty Best Ball and you're not sure, don't make the decision.
Facts.
You get to get whatever's best.
This is the argument for the league median. You said 190 and 200. You would have got a median win that week.
Did you just drink like an obscene amount of C4? Your eyes got like watery.
Dude, my eyes, they're like bugging me right now. I don't know why.
Okay.
They feel very itchy.
No, I think Pickens, I don't think it's as clear cut as, it's hard to pick one here because they're all I could argue for, but I think Pickens is one, and I'll give you the reason why. Remember, his quarterback play was so bad. Their quarterback play has been terrible since Ben.
Yeah.
Russ, the thing about Pickens, he's not the best separator, but he's a great contested catch guy. Do you know what, to me, that screams? If I actually want Russ to play with someone, it's a contested catch type of receiver.
Had Cortland Sutton looking pretty good last year.
That's what I'm saying. Russ actually puts ball in a play. He's very good at getting contested catch guys opportunities. I think Pickens is set up for a successful season, too.
18 yards per reception last year. The guy had 106 targets. 106. Drake London, in both of his years in Atlanta with Arthur Smith, with those shit quarterbacks, had more targets in both those years than George Pickens had last year in his like breakout year. Again, I try to caution people not to. Obviously, this was a particular case where like it did happen to me, but it's easy to be like, oh, he was good this game, he wasn't good this game. You can't predict when the big games are coming, so it's like if you think he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver, you keep him in your lineup, and by the end of the year, he's giving you top 15 numbers. Yeah. Trying to play whack-a-mole with a guy in fantasy is just like you're going to lose.
Actually, that's the thing I was going to say is that while I argue best ball a lot because it's fun, if you get guys like Pickens as your wide receiver 3, the ones that are boom or bust, you have to just keep sticking with it because otherwise you will miss the boom trying to predict it.
We just talked about that off camera about George Kittle because you said there's going to be weeks where he gives you 8 points, but he's also going to give you 30-point weeks in it.
That's actually exactly what I was telling him. He has Kittle, and who's the other one?
Kelsey.
Yeah, I was like, if you do that, you just got to play them both every single week and make sure you're getting those Kittle ridiculous weeks.
Because flexing George Kittle is going to be a way higher ceiling than flexing whatever wide receiver is going to be in that range.
Yeah. Right? I just like look at George Pickens on paper, and I just don't see a path to where he doesn't have a better year or like his value because he's so young.
Yeah.
You know, being 23 is, if he was 25, I'd say like, okay, maybe let me have a second thought about this, but because he just came in and just had, like, how many sophomore receivers have 1,100 yards receiving, and we're just like, don't know if, and their leading target just left kind of thing.
With shitty quarterback play.
Right. Imagine JSN goes out, has 1,100 yards this year, and then DK Metcalf leaves. Like, where would JSN be getting drafted?
To the moon.
It's not that dissimilar.
Olave range.
No, I like it. I do like the Pickens call, actually. The more you've convinced me on this.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I
didn't have strong conviction about anybody in that range, to be honest.
I didn't think I would, and then I started doing more research on Pickens, and I started to line up my thoughts on it. 7th
round, definitely for me, is not a clear-cut one. But I will say this. There's a lot of similar bets here, okay? And before I make my call, I'm going to give you the bets. So Diggs, Adams, Evans. You got Baker, Watson, Kittle, Henry. You're shooting your shot at this point on all right, you're out of this really inspiring youth tier, and we're leaning into age. And I think here, if you're going to do that, to me, the guy that's most likely to repeat success and be a league winner is going to be Mike Evans with them bringing back Baker Mayfield. Okay. So I'm going to take him in the middle of the 7th because, to me, it's the same bet, but I get to get him more mid-7th where it's Adams and Diggs, the same picture to me.
You guys remember where Evans was going this time last year in startups?
I want to say very similarly.
Was it later?
I want to say it was right near.
It was late 7th. I want to say maybe even early 8th.
I was going to say he might be the first player ever to go over the age of 30 and his ADP move up.
I think
the next year.
Is that because Brady?
No, I'm what?
They lost Brady, and then people are like,
him.
No.
Yeah,
right,
sure.
Right.
Yeah, I just mean in general, how many receivers
not many.
It'd be weird if Stephon Diggs turns 30 next year. We're drafting him in the 5th round of startups. There's not a lot of paths where you get older and we like him more the following year.
Yeah. You know what? It's actually now there's not as much value insulation as with Dak, but I think it's kind of the same thing. Man, how many years are we going to say Mike Evans is geriatric? We've been doing this for 5 years, it feels like. Wide receiver 5, 16, 8, 10, 12, 9. He's a lock to be a top 15 receiver, yet he's wide receiver 34 in a wide receiver craze market. I think it's Evans to me pretty easy.
I just had a league mate recently tell me that he prefers Terry McLaurin over Mike Evans by a mile, and I was like, that's insane.
I mean, yeah, he needs to be in an asylum.
Fair enough. I'm going to throw another name out there because I was Mike Evans too, but I think Deshaun Watson is a really good value at this point.
I have so much trouble with him.
It sounds so scary, but you got to think, and you'll know more than anybody, but he looked decent when he was healthy last year, but he was just hurt a lot of the season. I feel like
you believe that?
I actually feel like, as someone that's watched every down of Cleveland Browns football, I feel like the amount of times he's convinced me that he's actually good still is on a small scale.
I was going to say, I don't feel like I watched him at all and thought he's
I did. It's just never consistent, for a whole game.
It was one half, I feel like, that he played okay. And even that, I felt like got overhyped. I didn't even feel like he played that well. And I'm and it happened right before the injury. So people are like, oh no, that one half he played, that's what's going to happen all of next year. I'm
I agree with what you're saying. It's just, to me, it's been more on the scale of I've seen it in glimpses and I haven't seen enough of it consistently to be bought in. But go ahead.
I personally just feel like if I'm sitting here and I have to make a bet of Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, I'm just going to swing for the fence with Watson.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, okay, so I don't think he's the best in this, but I do think upside-wise you could convince me of that.
Yeah.
I would agree. To me, though, the reason I have a hard time with Watson is I could wait around and shoot similar upside shot on Levis type thing. I just struggle.
I also get because you have to watch him and you don't want to.
I'm way too close to the situation to be asking. Yeah, you're telling me Watson's great. He's telling me Nick Chubb sucks. I'm in trouble.
I also drafted Watson in a startup draft last year in the 3rd round, and then, or actually maybe even earlier than that. Also took him in a redraft Superflex league, and after watching him, I just don't know if there's any way I could be convinced into taking him again this year.
And I'm saying this as a guy who has 0 shares of Watson anywhere, hasn't drafted Watson anywhere.
That's why you kind of like him.
Oh, my gosh. We need to move to the next round.
You've never had any stakes in him, which is why you don't know how bad he really is.
You're like, man, maybe I want some Watson.
I had my stakes when he was in Houston. That's
right.
when I had my stakes. But let's move on to the 8th round.
One thing to Watson, actually, one thing that's underrated about talking. Watson, when he was really great in Houston and then all that time off, remember, he was on his rookie contract, and now it's the guy not only had all that time off, but is he great while getting paid a absolute obscene bag that's fully guaranteed? That is a totally different conversation than being able to surround the team with all kinds of weapons.
So as the Browns fan,
don't do it. Don't buy in.
Do you want Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson as your quarterback for the next 4 years?
Neither. I mean,
the answer's Baker Mayfield.
It can't be Baker Mayfield because that's impossible. I have to believe in Watson. Don't do that to me.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the 8th round. Put Adam out of his misery.
Okay.
I am going to. There's not a lot of guys.
Oh no, I did the 7th too. Sorry.
Yeah,
you're right.
there's not a lot of guys in this round that I really like, to be honest. Like this round feels gross. I just feel like for me, if I'm gonna make a bet, it's gonna be between Keon Coleman or Will Levis, and I think I'm just gonna go with Will Levis. And we've talked about Will Levis. We talked about him on the buy sell. We've talked about him just now in comparison to Deshaun Watson. You said it's a similar bet, but this is a guy who's probably going to see his value increase if he has any sort of a decent season with a new head coaching staff in here. They're trying to build around him. We've talked about all of those selling points, but I'd just rather shoot Will Levis here.
Kind of crazy how Trey Benson's up at the 8-10.
I don't mind it, though. I really
No, I don't mind it either, but when you look at, like, Bo Nix is 3 picks after him, and then the next rookie is Michael Penix at 10-3, Ricky Pearsall at 10-5. I have not seen Trey Benson go ahead of those guys in any rookie drafts. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that? It speaks to team build. People start feeling like they need to get a running back, whereas in rookie drafts, you don't feel like you have to necessarily fill a running back.
Like Trey Benson in most of my drafts has been like the 2-7, like 2-7, 2-8 or whatever, and like Bo Nix is like the 110, 111.
That's actually a pool. I love that.
I had actually.
You love
Benson
that?
Went
I do.
He went
Well
earlier
done.
in my.
I'm actually proud of you.
Huge for the cause.
Sorry, go ahead.
Benson went earlier in my drafts, to be honest, but also I was the one drafting Benson, so I was getting him earlier.
And you were also the one that took Kyler Murray. Just admit it to everybody.
I wish I was the one who took Kyler Murray.
No,
but
I actually think so. I can get on board with the Levis pick. As far as if you waited on your second quarterback, I think it's good value. To me, there's one person in this range. I mean, obviously, hindsight will be 20/20, but I think there's one person in this range that's proven to be and still could be a league winner. And to me, it's Evan Ingram.
I like that pick too. I think he's a good value.
You don't think last year was fluky at all with Ingram?
In which way? Sorry.
He had a ton of targets.
So I think his year last year was the second most receptions in a season ever by a tight end.
Yeah,
I think he had 116 catches.
Yeah, I made that video.
You know what's crazy is you pull out that stat and he still wasn't the tight end one.
Yeah. That's what makes me a little bit nervous.
Can I tell you why, to me, if you're going to argue fluky, it would actually be that
Laporta.
For better, like how many times has a tight end, let me ask you guys this, how many times does a tight end get the second, there's only been one other tight end that had that many targets, but only has 4 touchdowns. I would argue touchdown regression the other way around.
Yeah. Give me his yearly touchdown totals, starting with last year and going back a year.
So, his rookie last year was 4.
Yeah.
Year prior 4. Year prior 3. But here's the difference: 4 on 98 and 73 targets versus 4 on 150 targets.
My point is, some dudes just don't got a knack for the end zone. We can talk about TD regression all we want. It was Julio. It was Keenan Allen. Like, some dudes just don't really get it done down there.
Now,
and you don't have plays. I think another part of that is, like, a lot of teams have plays drawn up for specific players down there, and if you're not part of that game plan, you just ain't part of that game plan.
Now, actually, I want to go back to a point you made. I almost forgot to pass. You play in tight end premium, right?
Yes.
Do you play in tight end premium? So you know who the tight end 1 and tight end premium was?
Was it Ingram?
Every single time.
In
Any tight end premium, he was a tight end 1 because it's receptions.
It was, I think in my league, it was Laporta number 1, and he was
pretty sure.
But it's only
unless you had a
0.5.
bonus.
It's a 0.5 tight end premium.
So Fade the Fetal, for example,
Maybe
he was
you
tight end 1.
Put me on game.
It depends. Let me take that back. If it's a full point with a half premium, then it is Ingram. If it's a half point PPR and it's a half point premium, it depends how much we're counting per catch.
In Fetal, you do have Ingram as the 1.
Mine is, let's see.
More often than not in tight end premium, Ingram actually was the 1. Because think about it, you're padding a catch, and what did he have? A ton of targets and a ton of catches.
You're right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. There you go.
So again,
it's actually crazy. He had 287 fantasy points in that league in Fade the Fetal.
And guess who won?
And the second most running back points last year was like 306. So you're talking about like a 20-point difference between Evan Ingram and like the RB2 overall.
Now, also, we need to, I would say the elephant in that stat is that Laporta didn't play in Week 18. He played like 30% of the snaps, and Ingram played the whole game. So
they also put him out there only to get him the record or whatever it was, right?
I mean, if you look at the overall snaps for the year, Ingram played 78%, Laporta played 85%.
Fair.
So
my only point is that he was tight end 1 in most tight end premium leagues.
Yeah.
And people, 1, don't even know it, and 2, you could draft him at tight end 11 here. Like, you wait till the 9th round almost and he's only 30.
I like it.
He's only 30.
I traded my guy Greg Dulcich for Evan Ingram.
But
that's crazy.
I know you're laughing. He's only 30, but look at where Travis Kelce's going.
I mean, because Travis Kelce.
But Travis Kelce's 35, and right?
Fantasy points per game though. Kelce was number 1. He dominated from a points per game.
Did he? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I think he was.
Okay, well, I'll pull it up while.
I agree overall with the sentiment, though. Like Ingram at 8-11, I feel good about
You
him.
got to remember, Kelsey missed like 2 games or something early on, and 3 something. I don't know.
Actually, tight end 1 was T.J. Hawkins' team.
From a points per game standpoint?
We're all over the fucking place. We got no idea what tight ends were doing last year.
My point is, though, Evan Ingram, Travis Kelce, if it's age that worries you, why is he going so high? Other than just name cachet. I don't disagree with any of that.
Yeah.
My point is that Evan Ingram, to me, is in the 8th round, one guy that could win you your league if you wait on tight end.
Fair.
That's my argument.
Let's move to
But
9.
yeah, so my pick was Will Levis.
Dope.
And it was the wrong pick.
Yeah, I don't hate Keanu. I don't hate Will. I don't hate Evan Ingram at all. Number 9.
I will say you come a long way on Keon, though. To put him as now the best pick in the 8th?
I mean, if you're going to shoot a shot on upside, there's
Go ahead, Nick.
very few.
I hate everybody in the 9th round, to be honest with
The
you.
9th is tough. What do you think, Andrew? Nick don't want to make a
I
pick.
talked about Montgomery. I like him. I don't know if I'm like over the hill about early round 9 there.
I like Najee as the pick.
There's a correct pick here.
Najee ain't for me.
There's one pick. It's so glaring.
I like Tajay.
Or Christian.
Dude, 3 Chris/Christian wide receivers here.
It's the same color. It just ain't them Chris's or Christians.
You think it's Amari? Amari's getting too old for me, to be honest.
I'll fade in age. This is a dude that could end up being a league winner again.
Judy added doesn't scare you?
What's that?
Judy being added doesn't worry for the target share?
When I said what's that, like that was me being
You're
facetious.
saying what's a Jerry Judy?
Yeah, no,
I can't pick a player here. I don't hate Amari Cooper there. I don't even really hate Stafford at the 907 there.
Sure.
You get like 1 or 2 more years of like really, really solid production where you're getting the Kirk 2 rounds earlier, where I don't know if he plays that much longer than Stafford does. I also, I talked about Pollard being the worst pick of last video. I might even lean Tajay Spears here, and I might be higher than consensus on Tajay Spears, but
Best pick.
I just think he's the running back of the future there in Tennessee, and I really think by the end of this year, like they're so going to swap. Like Tony Pollard is going to move down 3-4 rounds. Tajay Spears is going to move up a couple rounds. And he was really, really good in his limited time last year with Derrick Henry. And they felt comfortable. He was like the first back in 5 years. They felt comfortable enough being like, okay, we're giving you a solid chunk of percentage of Derrick Henry's downs here. So I think that speaks to like how much they like him there in Tennessee. Obviously a little bit of a new regime, but overall I think he proved that he was talented enough. So if I faded running backs up to this point, those are the type of guys I'm trying to shoot for upside on, like Trey Benson in the 8th, Tajay Spears in the 9th, the Jalen Warrens. We talked about this in our video that went up last week. Those younger guys that are like a little bit more ambiguous in terms of like what the splits are going to be, I think they present you with a lot of upside.
Yeah. Also find myself, I don't think he's the best pick in this round, but I also find myself this offseason getting a lot of Bo Nix, but I think that's mainly because of the value in the rookie drafts.
Yeah.
But I think Bo Nix, is this crazy to think that by this time next year, he could be in that conversation right there where Watson, Cousins, and Baker are all at?
No, he could be. I think actually Nick's what's interesting about him to me is he is such an uphill battle. It feels like no one's going to buy into it until he proves it on a large scale. Like we're gonna have to see him actually have a very good rookie season for him to go up, probably to that 7th round.
Yeah.
Although to your point, I mean, you get a quarterback this late, it's a rookie first round QB. That's not bad.
And as QB 25 in your 12-team leagues, for the most part, if in an ideal world, you're getting him as your QB 3. Sure. Everybody has 2 QBs at that point, and he's the 3rd one off the board.
Sure. I think Nix is probably the right pick in this round.
I think the upside play and younger version play is definitely Nick's. If you're at the point where you're trying to build out like scorers for your team, I think like Amari Cooper, you were talking about Chris Olave, Nick. Like Amari Cooper's 29, he'll be turning 30, but he gave you what Chris Olave did in points.
Yeah.
And that was with 5 quarterbacks last year.
Now he just gets one bad quarterback for this year.
W.
To
me, if you're trying to score points, it's Amari. If you want to take the big home run swing, Bo Nix could be it. I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. I just think he has the best shot, not the best shot, but he probably has the best shot of anybody in this tier's value to increase multiple rounds.
I guess if you look that way, there aren't a ton of guys that could increase value going year over year. And I think more often than not, that just has to do with youth and like the uncertainty of what these guys are going to be. And that is like Bo Nix, that is Tajay Spears probably, that is maybe you can argue Fields and Christian Watson. But Bo Nix is probably the right pick there. Or right. Cooper if you're looking for production.
10th round is mine, right?
Yep.
All right, go watch my old Michael Penix video.
Dub. Hank.
Michael Penix.
I don't know how you argue anything other than Penix here. Like, I probably couldn't, honestly, because I feel like the receivers here, like Deontay could be a producer, Keenan could be a producer. Keenan is just betting on Rome not probably succeeding right away.
Yeah.
Probably a sinking. That's a lot of age to take there.
Penix is definitely the right pick.
Yeah.
I think he probably is. I also I find myself drafting a lot of Deontay Johnson at this price because we saw last year Bryce Young, as much as everybody wants to talk about how bad of a year it was, he had Adam Thielen looking elite for like 10, 11 weeks. And I feel like he could do something very similarly with Deontay Johnson this year, if not more. So
I'm so unsure about that Carolina situation.
it's
They just keep adding mouths there, and I'm just like, they don't have enough food.
Yeah, I can hear that argument, but I think if we were just looking from a talent standpoint, there's nobody in that room as talented as Deontay Johnson. And I know that that's probably going to rub some people wrong because a lot of people really like the guy going right after him, Xavier Legette. But I just am not impressed by Legette that much. And it just feels like Deontay's going to be a PPR monster in this offense.
Yeah, I don't know if I would argue for sure that he's the most talented, but he is the one guy that is guaranteed to separate and earn a ton of targets in that room.
He's the only guy in that wide receiver room that I will be drafting in pretty much any redraft league, any single season league. Like, I will only be drafting Deontay Johnson and nobody else.
Yeah, he's the most likely to give you actual sustained production.
Yeah, I just worry that like he's just gonna go 5 or 55 every single week. And I'm like, I don't fucking want that shit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't
Honestly,
want that
outside-
shit.
Wide
Outside of
receiver
him.
48, almost wide receiver 50. I mean,
Yeah.
why not, dude?
But that's where I think
That's
the
more
more,
of a
the more we
value.
talk about this round is just going to make me go, why are we not taking Penix? Dude, because tell me that you feel confident anyone in this
Hollywood.
round that actually can not even increase in value, but actually score points at a clip that means something for fantasy football.
Yeah.
Like, let's say Deontay actually is the best receiver in Carolina. That, like Nick said, could be wide receiver 25, and who cares, really? Not that it's bad. It's just not meaningful.
Okay, so it sounds like to me, I need to go and watch your Penix video because I haven't watched it yet. I've been too busy making content.
Fair.
But I was not impressed with Michael Penix as a prospect. Like, he's not a guy that I really like.
So,
And
I mean,
so
go ahead, sorry.
L take.
I guess I'm just not really seeing why it's a clear-cut best player here. Can
You do need to watch the video because actually it was hard for me not to put player bias into it, but every time I made the entire video removing player bias, and no matter what you thought of Penix coming in, the video is all about the situation and the value ascension that's guaranteed to happen. Like Bo Nix, you're going earlier, based on this season, if he has a bad season or doesn't mean much in fantasy points per game, or him and Peyton didn't have a great year, his value is going to go the wrong way. Michael Penix is basically you got to diamond hand it. You know he's going to stay right around this range, but the moment that he's the starter with all those weapons, like look where JJ is going.
Yeah.
Why is he going there?
Because of the weapons.
Because Jefferson, Addison, Hawk.
Yeah.
Michael Penix steps on the field. London, Pitts, Bijan. You get him in the 10th though. You just have to draft and hold, and he's guaranteed to at least be at Cousins or higher when he steps on the
When
field.
he's a starter. Yeah. Makes sense.
Kind of interested to see what happens with Calvin Ridley this year.
Yeah, he was one guy you could probably make.
He's
a case
old
for.
and he got the bag. If he has a good year, I kind of feel like his value could go up too.
Agreed.
Since he left ATL, I just don't care.
I find myself feeling that way more often than not, but I am a little intrigued.
Yeah, like even last year in Jacksonville, like there was a lot of people that were really excited for him to be Trevor Lawrence's guy, and I just didn't care.
I just didn't think they didn't have the greatest chemistry, but
Yeah.
if him and Will Levis
that shit just
in this
didn't work.
offense cashes, you could be looking at it. Especially because way later, DeAndre Hopkins coming out 13-02, if he ends up starting to trend the wrong way, looking older, it could be Calvin Ridley feasting as the only one in a pass-happy offense.
And Treylon Burks, baby. Just kidding.
Enough.
Just kidding.
Speaking
I have
of
never been a
feasting, I'm
Treylon
hungry
Burks
as
fan.
fuck. So
It's
we're going to
time.
wrap this video here.
Right.
Make sure you
Right.
subscribe to the channel if you are new and hit the button that looks like this down there. If you are, itching to get into a Dynasty League, again, we are setting them up via Discord for y'all. If you want to check out the ADP, which should be updated again by the time you watch this, that link is down there below, free to check out as well. So thank you guys for hanging out today. We love you. Mwah.
Love you. Draft Watson. Fade Chubb.
Peace.